的话，整体来说还需要磨合期。现在因为有2个新人，所以更需要磨合久一点。
我们心态方面有一些问题，就心态方面好一些的话，打得更好。
上次我觉得是我们自己没有处理好，这一次交手的话，希望能拿下他们。
EQ2连过来没有挑到，大舅子被打出了一个闪现以後，沙皇进场推完2个人，就是有一个血池，但是这个血。
WC의 선수도 엄청 잘하는 선수니까 한번 더 맞서보고 싶고 꼭 이기고 싶습니다.
AG 的话，大局观非常好 ，TP 也用得非常精髓，我们一定会小心他的 TP。
最近我们其实就对线的能力比较强势一点吧，所以新版本新中期拿到优势也是没问题。
觉得前期防守好，打到中后期应该是可以赢的。我们现在和 W1 的比分咬得很紧，所以通过我们的努力战胜 W1， 希望我们为之后的季后赛做冲刺。
这一次打 BLG 很关键，我会调整好我自己的状态，不会犯上次一样的失误，然后带领队伍赢下比赛。
It is finally starting to warm up here in Shanghai, and though spring has only just sprung, our teams are springing ever closer and ever closer to playoffs, as there are barely 14 days plus today before we lock in our top 8 and get even closer to see who will take the 2018 LPL spring title. That being said, even though some of our teams have already been eliminated, they are not taking this day relaxed or, you know, we're knocked out, we're just going to sit back and chill. You can see Marin, he's looking nice and happy as he is going to be getting ready for his matchup against the likes of Mouse and Rogue Warriors coming on in just a bit. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to week number 8 of the LPL. My name is Dom, and this is Zach Rusty Pie, and he is not wearing a Zach Rusty tie today.
Oh, you had to as well. You're wearing my Zach Rusty tie, Dom.
Very
it's
comfortable.
All a giant mess. I was wearing that yesterday as well.
And it looks absolutely phenomenal, does it not, ladies and gentlemen? It really does. But let's take a look at the standings and see how things are shaping up in the LPL, because as I said, we are getting very close to playoffs at this point. 2 teams have already locked themselves in, Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, and of course on the opposite side, TOP and BT are eliminated from playoff contention completely, so they are sitting there with the role of playing Blue Shell. There are some implications towards that team today, TOP as well, playing earlier today against Rogue Warriors, but that's where the race is, Dom. It's all about that first place. Yes, they are locked into playoffs. They are secured in that position, but their placement in playoffs is not secured until we see that green circle next to their name.
Exactly, and of course we also want to turn our attention towards the likes of BLG and WE at 7-6 and 7-7 respectively. They're going to be playing in our second match today, starting at 7 p.m. China Standard.
Absolutely are, and of course Rogue Warriors vs TOP is going to be our first game at 5 o'clock, but BLG-WE is the match to look towards as well. It's the exciting match where all of the upsets can happen, but unfortunately we're not going to be showing LGD vs Sinning Gaming.
Yes, that's going to be coming out of Hangzhou. If you're looking towards that, you can find it on lpl.qq.com, stream 2, or head on over to panda.tv or Douyu to find the respective links for there. But now we have to turn our attention towards our first matchup, because Rogue Warriors are taking on TOP, and Rogue Warriors could be making a run for best in the league going into playoffs. They're a single game behind IG right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and with this win they should be equal or close enough to in the standings. Of course, we're looking towards week 9 where Rogue Warriors will be playing against Invictus Gaming, and that should be the determining factor as to who is number 1 in the conference, but the first steps are always making sure you don't lose on the way to that match.
Yeah, they've got some matches, you can see them on your screen right now, to get through to actually make it to that point. First, TOP looks to be the easiest, perhaps Suning a little bit of a warm-up before, of course, the big match against IG, and then just afterwards, RNG right behind that.
Yeah, there's a momentum builder here for Rogue Warriors. They need to take down TOP today. They need to beat Suning Gaming shortly afterwards and make it a prompt affair where they get towards Invictus Gaming on a win streak. Continue that through to RNG as well. If they manage to upset the kings of the LPL in IG, well, then they can just keep going forwards and beat RNG. But the thing is, when you look at their schedule, when you look at the strength of their schedule, there's only one easy game for them, really, because the East is just so stacked with teams right now that this is their only free win left.
And even that said, we can't even call it a free win at this point. With Marin coming in for the team, it looks like TOP might finally be shaping up to find the identity that they've been struggling for. It very well could be a bit of a trap game for the likes of Rogue Warriors, something that they just relax, take it easy, and we don't want to see that happen.
No, we don't want to see them take the game too easy. Of course, it's good to look forwards, it's good to look ahead at your big match, the most important one, and study your opponents, but there is always the game at hand. If you look too far forward, you'll forget what is right in front of your eyes, and that's what we have to look towards today with Rogue Warriors, yes, but on the opposite side, TOP, they still need to play with full seriousness, go all in and make the attempt to improve as best they can whilst the season continues, and they have the best competition available.
Of course, that being said, things might be looking a little bit more dire for the likes of TOP as they have lost their jungler XX. He has been suspended by the organization, so he is still eligible to play, but TOP are choosing not to play him at the time being. That means if they want to keep Marin in the top lane, they have to play Korn in the mid lane.
Yeah, which means Goong is the one who also gets the boot from this, so I'm sure that Goong's backstage talking to XX with some very stern words as a result of all of this. And yes, you mentioned Marin in the top lane. The reason that they have to play Korn, of course, is the 2 Korean rule. Goong is a Korean there. Marin already exists. And Karen, who is the substitute jungler for XX, is also a Korean. So now they're choosing between the two. The best answer for me is always going to be Karen in the roster, opposed to having a different jungler there. And I didn't actually really like XX as much as I did like Karen anyway. But I do feel like the Korean rule is obviously why this has happened in the first place.
Yeah, and that being said, of course, Goong, like you said, having to step out just a little bit. That said, though, we need to talk a little bit about Marin in the top lane because he is such a titan for this team, finally coming in and giving them a straight-up winning lane nearly every time.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty well since he got here. I believe the first set he came back, they found a victory as well, so it's good to see from TOP. It's good to see that growth from them, but ultimately, the stats don't look too outrageously good for him, and there's a reason for that we have to dive into as well, and the reason that we show this is that the towers at 20 have actually gone up, and they look significantly better than they were for TOP. The reason for that is that everyone camps Marin. They're always in his lane, and it just means that TOP, whilst they're not winning through Marin, they are still winning through the rest of the map trading with the amount of focus the teams put into Marin.
And it certainly is a lot of focus. I mean, speaking with Clement a little bit backstage, he took a deep dive into some of our stats. Marin has been ganked 46 times in 18 games. Second most ganked have been 43 times in 36 games. He's ganked literally twice as much as any other top laner in the league.
Yeah, twice as much as second place, not even the averages. We get to go through the roster as well.
In the top, for TOP, they've got Marin, Karen, Korn, Choo-Choo, and FaZe.
I like your default to structure as well, Dom. But of course, the strong team with Marin in there, Korn and Karen are the place you'll have to look towards. And can Korn actually keep up is the question as we get to go over to Rogue Warriors, which is Mouse in the top lane, Flawless in the jungle, Doinb mid, SMLZ, and Kaluwa to round out their bottom.
And again, this is Rogue Warriors who are running after first place. If they beat Invictus Gaming and the two of them go even for the rest, it will be neck and neck all the way into that playoffs. This is where we get to see, are Rogue Warriors maintaining form? Are they continuing to chase forward to get that first place spot, or will they start to take it easy?
Well, that's what we need to see from Rogue Warriors. I have no expectations of them slowing down. Of course, they need to keep ramping up towards the end of the split. The way they're playing currently is incredible, but there's definitely still some places they could look towards to refine. I think currently SMLZ is playing out of his mind. Kaluwa is having a fantastic back end of the split as well, and Doinb started to diversify. I think the constant discovery of new patches and how they're going to play that one out is what we need to continue to see from Rogue Warriors, and an exploration of the meta. Perhaps it's a new champion, perhaps it's a new play style, or a new lane they want to focus and carry around. I think that's where we look at.
You say new champion, I just get a little bit excited because my heart is like, oh, it's got to be Kai'Sa. It's got to be Kai'Sa. It's absolutely not going to be Kai'Sa. That being said, our casters are now ready to get us into game, but first, let's hear what Doinb is going to think about playing against TOP and the likes of Marin.
接下来我们要跟 TOP 交手了，然后我看过他们的比赛，我觉得他们 TOP 战队的话 ，TOP 战队的上单就马林嘛，马林选手全面死了1次或者2次，他们就节奏就没了，所以我们会针对他们的上单。
Well, it seems pretty clear what his game plan is right there. We're just going to camp the heck out of top lane like every other top lane has done in the league.
Yep, pretty much. So basically, Hashinshin's perception of the top lane is now Marin's reality. That's how bad it has been for Marin in the top lane there, and that's where we have to talk about TOP's strategies so far. There's really two ways they can go. The first one is they want to beat up Mouse. They want to win the top lane and go through to that split push win condition for Marin in the top lane. The other way they can do it is if other teams overcommit to the top lane, then they can trade in the bot lane. And they do have the tools to do so this patch. Chocho is going to get his Jhin back on 8.5.
He has, though we haven't seen a lot of Jhin outside of SMLZ. He picked up pre-buffs, and then after that we didn't really see a whole lot. So it is a possibility for TOP to do this here, especially with Doinby essentially just throwing down the gauntlet and just saying, well, this is our game plan. What have you got to counter it?
All right, I think that Doinby might be having a front here because out of all the teams, I actually feel like Rogue Warriors is the team to punish the top lane the least. Remember, they do have Mouse playing for them in the top lane, and what Mouse is known for is absorbing pressure. So basically, Rogue Warriors likes to play through other lanes, particularly the bot lane, so it could be kind of a psychological warfare thing where like, hey, Karin, you better go top, but actually all of their resources can't be diverted into the bot lane.
Okay, a bit of a mind game coming into this one. We'll see if that's the case because the draft will shine some light on what Rogue Warriors are going towards and whether TOP will adapt to this one as we get into Champion Select. Xayah, Cassio, and Kha'Zix will be the bans from TOP, and Rogue Warriors hitting the top lane with Gnar, Camille. Let's see if it will be the third.
So, Gnar is basically the most played for Marin. I really like this champion for him. It can split push, it can team fight, and it's also relatively safe in terms of the laning phase. Taking that away from Marin puts a lot more risk on him being camped.
Also took away the Caitlyn there against Chocho in the end, so there's still a possibility for him to go to one of those utility AD carries. But the TOP will prioritize Karin's jungle right here, and it will be the Olaf.
It's a very smart takeaway from Flawless. Flawless has been first picking Olaf quite a lot in 8.4, and now in 8.5, Olaf is actually just straight buffed. So it's a very strong champion at the point, cruising at over 60% win rate in High Korean Challenger. You want to first pick that. It's going to give your bot lane a chance against SMLZ.
Rogue Warriors are going to prioritize Doinby's champion in the Rise while it can be flexed to top lane. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a Mouse champion. And then Rogue Warriors will also look towards the Tam Kench for Kahlua.
It's a great pickup for him. Kahlua, probably his best two champions, the Braum and the Tahm Kench. Picking that early really gives a chance for the hyper carries to come out for SMLZ. Oh, this is spicy. 8.5 Swain, boys. Pretty much banned all the way through on the LCK. Can't be a flex pick, both top and mid. And with the recent changes allowing his damage on his ult to go through targets, he's much better in teamfights now.
I could definitely see either Marin or Korn playing this one for certain. However, in the LPL, it's currently sat at a 33% win rate, so it's only won 2 games. So we'll see how well he can do in this game, whether we can chase his stats just a little. The Varus will come out for Chocho in the bottom lane, so still gets a bit of that utility using that Chain of Corruption, but Rogue Warriors will have to look elsewhere for their AD carry. However, for now, they'll look towards Flawless and give him his Jarvan.
This is an interesting answer to the Olaf. Basically, what he's doing now is like, Jarvan is still a huge limiter to Olaf in terms of team fighting. You put the Cataclysm down, he has to choose to flash outside of it. So it's not necessarily an early pick into the Olaf. If they meet each other in the jungle, Olaf is still going to win that. But as Jarvan, you can gank easier, and you can also team fight a little bit better.
They're going to be nice for Flawless as well, who very much controls the early game for Rogue Warriors. Now, Braum will be the ban there towards Phage in the bottom lane from TOP, and Sion will be the ban against Mouse up there as well. So kind of leaning towards perhaps a Swain going up to top lane doesn't do too great into the Sion matchup, and then Alistar will be the ban there against Phage as well.
Yep, so Phage has recently been stepping up. Traditionally, top have played Cat, who is their main shot caller, but Phage mechanically has just proven himself as a better player. Has a lot of Alistar highlight reels leading to TOP in their recent victories over WE and also Suning Gaming. So banning a lot of the initiation from Phage.
Taking away that playmaking potential as well from him. 2 seconds left on TOP, and they'll ban away the Gangplank, actually, towards the top lane there. Mouse has definitely had his fair share of Gangplank, and also into the Swain. Should be able to farm relatively easily, so take that one off the board. SMLZ is most likely trolling us. Clement, he's not trolling us, he actually just locked it in! Holy crap, okay, SMLZ with the Kai'Sa pick. And this is 8.5 Kai'Sa, so this is pre-buffs.
Yeah, 8.5 Kai'Sa is she's actually quite powerful in terms, but what we have to remember about her general description is that she's quite weak in terms of the laning phase, doesn't really have the attack range to go into some other champions, but if you can play pick composition like Rogue Warriors have drafted here, she has a lot of mobility. You look at that lane, the Realm Warp, the Tahm Kench, and the Kai'Sa, they can start fights anywhere.
So do we have the assumption that Kai'Sa is going to be bot lane here?
She can also go jungler, but Jarvan's already picked, so I would assume AD, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just thinking whether there's a weird possibility for Mouse to pick it up, but we'll see. TOP will lock in actually a Rumble as well, so I'm most likely going to go to top lane here on Marin. I mean, we've seen some Rumble mid lane, but that's pretty rare.
It's not going to happen. Like, you could do like some sort of weird flex where Olaf is actually the top lane and Marin is actually the Rumble is actually the jungle. But I don't really see that happening.
Thresh will also go alongside it in the bottom lane for FaZe, so looking for that playmaking potential, the pick potential from TOP, and it will be the Vladimir in the end as well. So we know Master's champion, we know Doinby's champion, just a question of where they're going to flex these two picks. We will have Kai'Sa in the bottom lane with this Tahm Kench.
All right, now we look at the timers. They have to do their swaps before 20 seconds.
Yep.
So they still have basically 23 seconds to decide where these lanes are going to end up. Marin is basically known for his Rumble. This is the champion that made him famous. It's the champion that SKT picked him up because he was known for it in High Korean Challenger, so I do expect him to go on that champion. He hasn't been having a very good time on it in the LPL, though. 0 wins so far on that Rumble. Very easy to gank champion.
But that being said, we do know what type of playstyle they're looking towards. You know, we were saying, well, TOP, you're going to play around top side, you're looking for scaling on Marin, you're going to play through bottom side. Well, with the Rumble pick, it definitely shines some light on that.
Yeah, so basically, if you have this Rumble locked down in your top lane, Olaf has to go top. It's going to be a Korean duo in the top lane between Karin and Marin. Their names even rhyme, so I guess that's pretty cool. But yeah, so Rumble, very easy to gank. It needs a lot of jungler attention for him to actually survive the laning phase, especially against someone like the Jarvan. So we can see the strategy shaping up. Top is actually not going for a split push composition. They're going for something that has a lot of pick potential early, and they want Karin to carry them through the early game into the mid game.
Trying to get this one together. They've got both the Swain and the Rumble coming in here for TOP. So I love the composition just because of the picks more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then you look at the opposite side, and I feel like Rogue Warriors have definitely stepped up to the plate as well. They lock in the Kai'Sa. From my notes, this is just the first Kai'Sa we've seen in every major region. I believe there was one in Latin America South that was played, and I believe that was a win. But here today, if you look at major regions, look no further, because today we have Rogue Warriors picking it up.
Pretty much. Kai'Sa is actually banned out on LCS, who are currently doing their playoffs. It's banned for competitive reasons. We didn't want the meta to change too much. However, on the LPL, we still are in the regular season. So the rules are a bit more lax in terms of that, and we do allow players to try the new pickup.
Definitely gets very hype as we get onto the Rift, and I'm going to give this one over to the audience because I'm ready for some Rogue Warriors chants. You can always count on those ringleaders to get it going, Clement, as we get onto the Rift. TOP versus Rogue Warriors, and we get a nice little zoom in of Kai'Sa as well, who'll be into that bottom lane now. This is 8.5, as we mentioned, for Kai'Sa, so she didn't get all the nice buffs that she gets on 8.6 and hotfix as well, but we'll see what SMLZ is made out of, because as I understand it, Clement, Kai'Sa is a very high-risk, high-reward champion.
She definitely is. She actually has play patterns that are very similar to an assassin. Basically, what she wants to do is tag someone with her W at long range, it has 3,000, and then use her ultimate to engage on that person and kind of assassinate them before the enemy team can react. A very different playstyle from a traditional AD carry or hyper carry that we're used to seeing from SMLZ.
But it does have the hyper carry potential as well. And, you know, Rogue Warriors are very much a team who likes to play around the bottom side if they get to late game. But this time around, Doinby's also on the Vladimir. You know, this is a departure away from him just playing support, pick mid, or going tank mid, and top lane probably also playing a tank because it's Mouse and then giving it all over to SMLZ. So it's like, well, if the Kai'Sa doesn't work out, if she falls behind, we can play through top side.
You know, I think Rogue Warriors are just trying to mess with their potential playoff opponents because they're all picking new champions. Mouse this is the first time he's been on Rise. Vladimir isn't commonly picked for Doinby, though I'm sure he's played it before. And also SMLZ on the Kai'Sa. So what they're saying is basically, we are pretty confident against TOP, and we're going to mess with the minds of our potential playoff opponents in whoever comes out of the WN and BLG series.
It definitely makes sense. Also, in terms of the strength of schedule here as well, if they win the next 3 out of 5 games, Rogue Warriors will lock their place over RNG as well, as Flawless looks towards the top lane. Marin's going to back off, though. He knows that he's the most ganked top laner in the league. He's going to back away. But the next couple of opponents for Rogue Warriors,
Flawless
as
is in
we
trouble.
see Flawless getting chased down by Karin. We'll have to flank and drag over the wall. Karin thinks about flashing, then realizes enemy territory and Mouse has the push.
Yep. So really smart warding there from Marin, actually dropping a very early level 2 ward. You could see Flawless's pathing. It was definitely the, so Doinby wasn't lying. It's definitely going for the gank onto Marin. Welcome to Camp Marin strategy, basically. Going for a level 2 double buff gank.
I mean, literally, Doinby said it in his interview.
I'm sorry, Doinby. You're not a person to lie. I shouldn't have called you out on it.
No. Well, Visions of Empire in the mid lane, just pushing this lane in here. Also got Korn going for the phase rush, so very much one of the preferred summoners for Swain. We've seen some Ares to try and match lane, but if you're looking to gap close, if you're looking to be useful in team fight skirmishes, phase rush, definitely the way to go.
Yep. It's a really interesting champion in Swain. Basically, he has very good late game scaling. If you look at his AP ratios, if he lands everything, his entire rotation is actually over 4 AP. So late game team fighting is actually something that Swain is very, very good at. However, he does have a bit of trouble in terms of the mid game. He does need his AP to kind of stack before he's useful in team fights.
Clement, I will say this is one of the best games we possibly could have casted because we have 2 top lanes. Look,
yes.
Top lane is top lane, and then mid lane's also top lane. We have 2 top lane mains. So here we go. This is our playground.
Well, there's no Urgot, no Kled, and no Aatrox, so actually I'm pretty happy casting this game.
Actual good champions in this one. And Doinby's just going to get that push back. Seems like he's actually leading just a little bit against this Swain in terms of CS. So obviously he's still able to play these carry champions. He's not just a tank one trick in the mid lane, picking up the support characters. Talking about this, Kai'Sa seems to be going pretty even with the Varus in lane. I believe has 525 range on the current patch on 8.5, which is increased significantly later. Here comes the gank out from Olaf, chasing down Kahlua right onto the Tam Kench. He's thinking about flashing away, but may actually just die here and leave his flash up. He'll be first blood over to TOP.
Well played by both sides. Kahlua saves all of his summoners, so he will not die to a repeat gank. They were in the middle of the lane, and there was nothing that they could really do. So I think that was a fair execution there coming out from Kahlua.
Yeah, he'll be able to keep that one. And plus there's added value on the Tam Kench because if he eats SMLZ, you get buy one, get one free. Both of you are able to flash out on that one. So he's thinking in the long run, the long con. And we just got to look at SMLZ's... Man, all I want to do is talk about summoners, but we're not going to be able to because Karin's found Flawless in his jungle, but Flawless is looking to turn this one around. Flag drive, lands the knockout, the flash coming out from Doinby, and the ignite. Another kill to the mid laner of Rogue Warriors.
Much better synergy coming out from Doinby, rotating a lot faster than Korn did, resulting in that kill onto Karin. Now, if that was just a 1v1, Karin would win that 100%, but not the case going in for him right there.
In fact, he was winning up until he realized that Korn was completely pushed into his tower. Kahlua now pushing up to the mid lane himself, along with Flawless, seeing if he can get a cheeky gank off.
Well, to be honest, Korn really wasn't pushing that far. He was just much slower on the rotation for some reason.
Well, that's very questionable then.
Yeah, it does look like there's just communication errors now. Korn has only played 5 games for TOP so far. They've mainly been playing Goon. And we've only seen pretty much supportive champions from Korn. Really likes the Galio, really likes the Karma. In fact, he plays a lot like Doinby, to be honest.
2 Doinbys in the mid lane. Who would have thunk it? Flawless will see Karin invading here. Karin's going to go back to his jungle. And to talk about that one, well, XX got benched by the team because of his attitude during game. And as a result of that, Goon was also pulled kicking and screaming off as well because he essentially has to play with XX because of the 2 Korean rules. So while he is innocent of these crimes, he's been taken away.
Yes, I do feel really bad for Goon because he was actually doing quite well. He was getting wins for him. I remember his Cassiopeia game against Xie where he actually won the lane, did very well in that series. But unfortunately, because of the rule, because of XX, he's no longer able to play. And this laning phase should go fairly poorly for SMLZ, to be honest. He does have a distinct attack range disadvantage. Varus sitting at 575, able to poke out at him constantly. No sustain either in that lane.
That's a full half-teamer. TOP are looking towards this top lane here. Marin
has the level 6.
And the danger zone as well. Karin, he's activated the fast Olaf, but they actually don't choose to follow after Mouse's realm warp there, so they'll just kind of let him get away.
Still has his flash. They really weren't going to kill him, so just leaving that ultimate up, I think that's a fair thing to do. Looking at the stats here, you can look at Marin's KDA, 16th in the league. Not a lot of good stats from him. What's really impressive for me actually is his CSD at 15. You can see at the bottom. For someone who's ganked as much as he is, to still come out of the lane with the CS lead, I think that's fairly impressive.
What was your stat that you found? How many times he's been ganked so far?
So he's been ganked 46 times in 18 games. Compared to second place, that's 43 ganks in 36 games. So ganked at double the rate. Very much like American defense spending.
Well, here comes the teleport into the bottom lane from Doinby, and the jungler's already there. It's going to be a 4-man collapse on this one. SMLZ and Kahlua, can they make this happen? Flawless is tanking, he needs to get out fairly quickly, but the damage is down to Phage. They take out the support, and it's as clean as you like.
Oh, that was so well done by Jarvan right there. Flawless using the unstoppable on Jarvan's ultimate to dodge out on the Varus ult. That was impressive.
Yeah, it was just really sick to watch. Great execution into the bottom lane from Rogue Warriors. That will be a kill. And also allow SMLZ to not only catch up, but overtake Chocho now in terms of CS. And now the Kai'Sa is feeling much better about life.
Yep, so we do have to talk about the Kai'Sa pick a little bit. The main thing you should know about her is she has the passive known as Second Skin, where she can upgrade her abilities based on how much AD, attack speed, or AP she has. So the big thing you want to look out for is which skill does she go into. If she goes for 100 AD, then she can level up her Q, which gives her more damage on single targets in a one-on-one scenario. And typically, as an AD carry, you will go for the attack speed second. You reach 100 attack speed, and then you have a short period of stealth on your E.
Supercharge, yeah. And if you go AP, which is never going to be seen ever, probably, unless there are changes, you can upgrade your W.
Yep, your W will get a refund on cooldown if it does manage to tag onto champions.
Yeah, very curious to see how SMLZ will play this one out, because as you said, the kit is very assassin-like, and I believe the way the champion was made is that it can definitely play in different lanes. This time it's going to be taken into the bottom lane, but you know, utilizing Killer Instinct correctly will be quite tough for him. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Doinby's getting chased down by Korn. Trying to get through the Demonic Ascension and look for this big surge damage.
Korn does have
and will activate it. Great timing on the Sanguine Pool, and Doinby will back away. But he's also here just in time to take out the Dragon with Flawless. And there's a Honey Fruit if he wants it as well. We'll see if Flawless is able to zone him away. Never move, does not hit. And they will be able to contest this one.
Yep, so Rogue Warriors able to leverage their bot lane gank into a Cloud Drake. And what's important to note about the Cloud Drake is it actually impacts laning quite a bit now. You get 2% in combat, so that helps with a lot of range versus melee matchups, and the other way around as well. 2% might not look like much. On most champions, you're only getting 7 movement speed. But in terms of laning, that's actually quite important because attack animations take time. You know, turning around to cast skill shots actually take time. So it really does, the biggest impact really is in that laning phase.
Yeah, you definitely feel it. And just the fact that I think that's probably one of the fastest Cloud Dragons I've ever seen taken. At like 10 minutes, usually we went to like 20 minutes before anyone touches the thing. So Rogue Warriors have definitely adapted to the patch here. We're looking towards his Olaf in the bottom lane, thinking about the gank. A Caffeine Rain comes out, and that was janky, but Kahlua will manage to get the Devour off on SMLZ. Devour's down now. Flash forward, Chain of Corruption, instant flash in return from SMLZ, fizzles out the gank.
Good reactions from both sides. If we take a look at the item build from Kai'Sa here, never mind.
Wow, Flawless tracking Karn right here, knowing it was coming from the bottom lane. Plus the bottom lane came up as well, and Karn actually just walked it off.
Now, this is actually a really smart move because TOP's bot lane is not going to be willing to push up their wave into the tower. They're not going to be willing to punish because Jarvan could just come down and kill them over again. So a nice play there, and it's a tempo play that recognizes the positioning on the map.
Jojo just trying to zone away Kahlua right here, but also shows how good Flawless is in terms of tracking. We always call him a very cerebral jungler, like he's very smart at what he does in terms of his jungle pathing and being able to track the enemy jungler. And he knew that Karin was coming up, and he was like, well, there's a good chance he's coming for river as well. So join me, come down, collapse with me, now contest these Raptors. Korn comes down, activates Demonic Ascension, looking towards Flawless, who's split, but comes out with the flag and drag. Can they get slowed down? Yes, they can, with the undertow, flash over the wall, but Morin here with the TP will be able to burn Flawless alive for the kill.
Wow, good play from TLP there, recognizing that they had a free top lane that could roam. Rogue Warriors looking for punish.
Flash forwards, Kalua's in, Caffeine Rain comes down, and a Killer Instinct as well. SMLZ's in there, chasing down Chocho. Not a couple auto attacks, but in comes Karn. The shield is big, out from Phage. Korn in from the mid lane, that's one kill onto the Varus. The collapse is coming from Doinby. Teleport in from Mouse. Join looking towards Martin right now, zoning him away. And this is a battle on two fronts in from TOP, but they are not winning it. Karin will go down as Mouse follows him after. Kahlua looking towards Korn as well, but they'll back on out. 2 kills to Rogue Warriors.
Down for a 4v4, but Rogue Warriors are more concentrated in their team compositions, and you have to remember Marin just used his equalizer already, unable to use it in that jungle team fight right there, so Rogue Warriors able to mop up the fight. Pretty much what we've been seeing is Rogue Warriors have a better understanding of how TOP players are going to be moving around the bot lane, catching them twice basically. Caught Karin once moving up from the bot lane, and also caught TOP's bot lane going back towards the bot lane. So very good like vision ganking from them.
Yeah, making use of the vision, making use of the control that they have currently over the bottom side of the map. That has culminated in 3 kills for Doinby and 3 assists on SMLZ as well, as he is moving towards his first item. What are you expecting in terms of item builds, Clement, for Kai'Sa?
So for Kai'Sa, we basically see Essence Reaver first on most builds. It gives you good attack damage, and also you're a very skill-based AD carry, so you really appreciate the cooldown there. And for the second item, it actually varies quite a bit. We've seen like people continue to go with the crit items, just basically make your Q a bit stronger because you get the extra CDR. But you can also go for the Blade of the Ruin King and just move into attack speed as well and try to get your E as soon as possible. And the Blade of the Ruin King build also gives you a lot of assassin characteristics as well. You can split push against other backline carries, so there's a bit diversity. The second item is really the one that changes the game.
SMLZ, we'll see if he's learned all of this, but he's also an innovator. We just saw that he's played 11 champions so far in the bottom lane in the AD carry role, most in the LPL so far. We've also had a Jhin game thrown in there as well, so this guy is definitely not only a master of all, but also a master of literally everything he plays.
So he's the master of all.
Yeah, master of all. Actually, just straight up. Yeah, the phrase kind of fell apart there halfway through, so... But SMLZ, he's got a pretty deep champion pool. You can't really ban him out.
Yep. You don't always have to be fair and balanced when you're casting. It's fine.
Yep.
Some players are pretty much just good at everything.
SMLZ is definitely one of them. Been thriving so far in Rogue Warriors. The Rogue Warriors have given him a lot of resources, but he's a player who can also turn those resources into a lot of efficiency in that AD carry role.
The big point we're waiting for Rogue Warriors is for them to open up the map. They have so many catches that they can do globally. They have the Realm Warp, they have the Kahlua, Abyssal Voyage, and also Kai'Sa can tag someone from 3,000 range and instantly be on that person. So if they can open up the map, force people to go into side lanes, they have very strong catch potential.
I wonder how SMLZ would use his Killer Instinct as well, because you can also choose around the target that you've tagged using Void Seeker or auto attacks exactly where you want to land. So as an AD carry, it's even perfect. So you don't have to just arrive behind them and realize you're an AD carry and just die. So you can actually just be slightly out of range and then push in with the auto attacks. So see how he plays it out in these team fights. But for now, Karin will be pushing up River, be pushing into the top side of the map, in fact, where Herald is still live.
What it looks like is that they're going to use the advantage of Doinby currently because of his 3 kills. And try to open up one of these side lanes. We're currently seeing a trade for TOP and Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, bot lane is being taken down by Rogue Warriors. Should be going down first, actually, over to SMLZ. First gold tower. First tower gold, rather, will go over to him, 650. Meanwhile, the top lane, Marin and Karin will get the top lane tower.
Oh, this is an interesting build from Kai'Sa. I actually feel like she might be going for the, what is it called? The Guinsoo's Rage Blade. You do get 76% extra attack speed when it's fully stacked. That does count as bonus. So apparently, if you get enough like 1 attack speed item, you get it fully stacked, then that could possibly activate both your Q and E.
Yeah. She also has the 5-hit passive as well, which would definitely benefit from the Guinsoos. But it's just a interesting item to pick up second, because so often we see the Guinsoos in laning phase because they can't get harassed out. As we see a contest over Herald right here. Flash forwards from Doinby. He wants Karin dead. Flash over the wall and Mouse will follow. He's looking for the Rune Prison. Can he get in range? Yes, he can. What is going to Ragnarok out of this one? Olaf, I don't think he's going to survive regardless, and gets taken down underneath the tower by Mouse.
This is looking very scary for TOP. They have a lot of targets that are very easy to kill by groupings. If you look at their team composition, basically no one is tanky. So they're running a full roster of pick targets, basically.
Yeah.
A lot of sitting ducks if they get pushed in.
And just to finish up that point, SMLZ moving for Guinsu second would usually be a risky thing, but he's so far ahead of the curve, though. I feel like he's taking a bit of left turn now that he's picked up the Zeal.
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I do need to check. I'm not exactly sure if Guinsu's stat does count towards the E. It maybe doesn't, so that's something I will check out.
Yeah. That would be pretty nutty if it did, though.
Yeah,
yeah, probably
doesn't.
often. Yeah, usually passive like that don't work.
Yeah,
the same way, yeah. Doinby in the bottom lane will be caught out by the Never move. Korn will get a nice bit of damage there, but at this point in time, level 12 Vladimir will just get a bunch of health back using his cube. There you go.
Look at this super mobile combo coming in from Rogue Warriors. What they can do is they can have Kahlua send Flawless into the bot lane, and then SMLZ can actually come by himself. He doesn't need the Abyssal Voyage to join any fights. So you're basically looking at a bot lane collapse that can happen in 1.5 seconds, and it's going to be a 4-man collapse. That's terrifying to deal against.
Especially for TOP, because many of their problems have been revolving around communication. You can see it in their plays, you can see the indecision happening. So if Rogue Warriors is just faster to the punch, especially with this Cloud Dragon as well, it just means that they'll move faster than TOP can think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. And what it also does is that it limits what Martin can do. He's playing a Rumble. He doesn't have a lot of mobility. He's very easy to take down. And now he's also facing a collapse anytime he walks past in the river.
Actually, just looking at Phage right now, he's significantly behind Chocho, so he can just place down the Lancer just in case he gets dove in the mid lane. Doinby was the one with the Herald. Now the Herald, so he'll place that one down right here. See if Herald goes on walkabouts, because we've seen Herald take some very interesting routes when placed in the jungle, but we'll go towards the mid lane, being cooperative. Charge comes through. And Phage hooks the Herald as well. Lewis is going to play bodyguard, and Doinby in from the side. Actually activates the Hemo Plague, coming in with huge damage out from the Tides of Blood. He'll buy some time using that Sanguine Pool. Korn pushing forward, buying a lot of space. 2 go down on the side of Rogue Warriors. And right now it's the lockdowns SMLZ as well. He has no way out of here. He jumps all the way into the fight, and Flawless, he's just got to run away. Mouse wasn't part of that fight, and now he's in the middle lane, not assisting the team. And Current's chasing after. He's got the Undertow onto Flawless. He wants to go deeper, but the damage out from SMLZ is big. Acapian Rain, got to be careful of that one. Korn flashes away, and now Mouse is on the assault. Undertow once more will slow down Rogue Warriors' assault.
A bit zealous engage from Doinby right there, basically walking in and forcing his team into a fight. They probably didn't account for Rumble already making it to the left side. So basically what happened was Martin was able to cut off all of the help from Rogue Warriors. It didn't allow Rogue Warriors' backline to advance, and Kahlua and Doinby were pretty much caught in a 2v5 position. Let's watch that again. Doinby comes in. If you watch his team, they're still a ways behind. The box comes down. Like, SMLZ knows he's not stepping on that. He walks back. There's a Varus ultimate as well. SMLZ gets 2 auto attacks off before he's like, nope, I'm out of here.
He gets locked down, flashes over the wall, and then the rest of the team is just trying to play damage control from here on out. That could have gone a lot worse, but then they definitely realized that on single targets, Kai'Sa does a lot of damage, so we'll back away in the end there. But still 2 kills to TOP on that trade. And it really was just an over-aggressive play coming out from Doinby. Overall, Rogue Warriors still managed to pick up more resources, and actually in the fight probably did more damage, but TOP can absorb a lot of this, and I think a lot of that will come from that Swain.
Oh, pretty much. We see almost 3k damage from the Swain going in and remaining at full health most of the time. Our producer has just notified us that the Guinsu Rage Blaze stacks do not count toward Kai'Sa's second skin passive, so she does need permanent stats for that to activate.
I was going to say, that seems a little too good, but there's still reason to go for the Guinsus possibly later on into the game. Has gone for the Runan's Hurricane, though. Second here for SMLZ. And now Rogue Warriors are actually in Upper River. They're clearing out all the wards around Baron, as it is still a potential objective to happen. 5,000 gold ahead right here, so they do have control over top side.
So we do have to talk a little bit about how TOP is going to come back into the game. I think both of the compositions are very focused on catching people, and when we see 2 catch comps going up against each other, pretty much the one that gets the first strike usually wins because they can take out someone on the other team relatively quickly. So if TOP are going to come back and stop bleeding out these towers and getting pushed into a 1-3-1, they will need to use Phage very well. I think Phage has to be the difference maker here.
Thresh is always a big playmaking champion in the support role. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why it's a risky pick, because sometimes it can go exceptionally well if you land the hooks. If you don't land the hooks, then it almost becomes semi-useless. And Doinby looking for this 1 versus 3 right here. Karin joins the fight with Chocho, and Doinby still by himself. The rest of the team has now arrived. Kahlua looking for the assault, and Doinby, killer instinct from across the screen. That's Kaiser for you, and Mouse coming in from the top side will get his own kill onto the support. Korn, he's being cut off from 2 angles right now, and SMLZ is able to step up and put out all of that single target damage. 3 kills to Rogue Warriors.
And this is just the strength of Rogue Warriors comp. They can be anywhere on the map in an instance. Kahlua brought someone else than his AD carryover. He brought Flawless into the fight. How are you supposed to respond to that? Even if you have a teleport in the bot lane, it's 4.5 seconds compared to 1.5. They're so much faster. If they get mid lane priority, they can instantly collapse on any of the side lane fights.
Looks so bad for Doinby, the fact he was in 1 versus 4 for what seemed like 7 or 8 seconds.
Yeah, you have to look at the execution here from Doinby. That was so ballsy. He basically waited for the last possible second to flash and sucked up as much HP as he possibly could in under that pull duration. He held on to that flash for so long and basically got HP out of it. He was rewarded because of that play. And if you look at how fast Rogue Warriors is collapsing on this, you have to remember, Marin actually still has his TP in this fight. He's not coming here because there's no point. Rogue Warriors is just here way too fast.
We did see Marin actually use his teleport mid lane, though, maybe trying to contest the Baron, then thinking better of it in the end. So even after all of that and saving the TP, Marin just burns it in the mid lane. So now they don't even have that one. And Rogue Warriors, now with almost a 10,000 gold lead, will look towards the second dragon, or second Cloud Dragon, I say, third dragon of the game. SMLZ is able to easily solo this one up. And it looks like he's going towards the Infinity Edge third.
Yep. I wonder if we can get a shot of how much AD she has. Typically, you can look at the Q. If it's 12 missiles, then that does mean that she has already reached her breakpoint. Actually, we can just do the calculation. Yes, she has reached her breakpoint. Sorry. Bad maths.
Oh, good. Flawless will clear out this ward in the jungle, and they're just completely starving TOP of vision in the bottom jungle right now. Has to take the dark passage there, Karen, to get back to safety. And Kahlua,
oh, here's the teleport coming in.
Away.
Oh, sorry, going away.
Did Doinby realize? I don't know if Doinby realized he was in the brush right there.
Well, that's the thing about Vladimir. He actually has no way to stop teleports.
Yep, so fortunately. Just do the little drive-by, and Mouse keeping 3 members of TOP at bay. Well, Rogue Warriors are just pushing the mid lane, so they'll get the inner turret right here, now continue to push. There's only now a reaction from TOP.
What I think TOP needs to do is that they need to make a pick in the mid lane as soon as possible. What's happening right now is if Rogue Warrior have mid priority, they're doing a 1-3-1, and their 3-man can arrive so fast that it doesn't even matter if you have teleports on the other side of the map for TOP. You have to stop their 3-man rotation to one of the side lanes. So the way you have to do it is you have to look for picks in mid.
And TOP are just going to go for a fight instead in the jungle. Lays down the equalizer, stopping the retreat out from the Jarvan. Pulled in, great hook out from Phage. SMLZ's down as well, and Flawless is also going to fall. But in comes Doinby, the side flank. Activates the Hemo Plague. Does he have the damage? Kalua's there as well to save him. And Mouse in from the bottom side. Doinby versus the world. Takes down 2, looking towards the third. Finds the third. Gets gobbled up by Kahlua. Buys some time, but he's down. But now Mouse has arrived to claim vengeance. Finds the second, and Marin goes into the Zhonya's. But he comes back up. Dodges a skill shot, but will eventually go down. 4 kills to Rogue Warriors.
That's still a very good fight from TOP, and they were actually doing what I was talking about. They were attacking the 3-man in the mid lane. They're not looking for picks in the side lane. They know that the mid lane can collapse too fast, so they're going straight to the source of the problem, SMLZ and Kahlua. And even though that was a 4v4, and I would say, like, in terms of the gold value, it might still favor Rogue Warriors, that was a good defend from TOP. It's going to buy them more time to scale up.
I think more importantly, that was one of the first times I've seen TOP like really be decisive when it's not something around going for a 20-minute Baron. Like they just straight up went towards that fight and were like, let's just go for it.
Yeah, look at the map right now. So Rogue Warriors are still in the 1-3-1 formation. TOP are tagging onto the 3-man. They know they have to collapse this point. Good flash from Chocho, and really good catch from Marin, basically sealing SMLZ's fate in the choke point with the equalizer right there. But of course, Doinby is a little too fed from the early game. Started the game 3-0-0. Takes a very long time for him to fall down, and it's way too much damage over on Rogue Warriors compositions. They do have 3 main sources of damage. Mouse is not on the tank. And in terms of cleanup, it's just way too hard to compete with that.
And it was remarkably close as well to Doinby just getting a bunch of health back from his Crimson Rush there, which would have meant he would have survived the fight, able to push the top tower. But regardless, Rogue Warriors are still going to be on the offensive. That being said, a lot of Barons, I believe, were burnt from that fight, so that is a good thing for TOP. However, Doinby is absolutely gigantic and is pushing past this tower, pushing TOP away. Rogue Warriors get a bit of time on this inner turret. Hook comes through, finds a minion.
Rogue Warriors do have to be very careful. If you look at TOP's ultimates, they're all up. So if they want to go for a 5v4 scenario, they could find a chance.
And they've actually just gone for a full-blown fight, but Korn, he's a sad Swain. He's a sad big bird because he's trapped inside the pit. And we'll have to back away here. Void Seeker connects. Go on. I know you want to use Killer Instinct.
All right, he decides the better of it. It's a really good pick from Flawless. If you remember the ban pick sequence, Flawless took Jarvan on the 3rd pick on the red side. So that means he already had vision of Olaf and Swain. And you can see in the team fights how much that means to the compositions. He can lock 2 people that want to go into the Cataclysm and basically shut off all of their damage.
And what Olaf really needs is the ability to walk through walls.
Yeah.
I feel like as the Berserk could be able to do that, but yeah, he can trap both him and the Swain inside the pit, and then just run away, essentially, and deal with the rest of the team. And Rogue Warriors put that to great use, but they're just so far ahead from this early game that when we get to those fights, it even makes the defense from TOP more impressive, the fact that we're able to get a 4-for-4, because they are so far down in gold. Now 14,000 in this one, 7 towers to 1, and Rogue Warriors are poised to try and take this.
If they're in a very strong position, however, they still don't have any inhibitors. That means they still will have to play a bit split. And the way you want to play against a 1-3-1 composition is... so what 1-3-1 does is if all 3 lanes get past river, then they're going to take an objective no matter what, even if you engage on them. What you want to do is you want to time it so when you engage on them, you can kill the 3-man and also take a Baron. So you trade an inhibitor, but you get the 3-man and a Baron. That's a play they're going to be looking for.
So seeing that rotation ability you were talking about, Clement, 4 people arrive on the scene in the matter of seconds. TOP coming down to its bottom lane. It will be a 5 versus 5 if they decide it, and Doinby is on the flank, looking for an opportunity to come into this one.
The big person they're looking for is Doinby right now. He has a Morellonomicon, which limits Swain quite a bit. The only way I see TOP winning this is if they can snipe Doinby somehow. It's going to have to take basically a death sentence from Phage and an instant kill.
Bottom inhibitor chipped down, eventually taken out by Rogue Warriors. TOP choosing to not have their last stand, be at the bottom inhibitor. However, Rogue Warriors, the plan is in place. Take out the bottom inhibitor, get the super minion spawning, move towards the Baron.
And this is really smart adaptation from Rogue Warriors. They know they have a weakness with the 1-3-1. If they remain split and then the Baron's up, they can get dived on.
But they've also seen an opportunity to try and engage, and more importantly, Doinby comes in, SMLZ across the screen, comes in, snipes off the enemy AD carry, Kahlua of the save as well. Mouse will find a kill onto Swain, and Curran, he just has to go all in at this point. Maybe he can kill SMLZ, and this last stand, 1 versus 3 as the team comes in, triple kill for the Kai'Sa.
Tags the W onto Chocho and instantly goes in and snipes him out of the picture.
SMLZ comes through the front and comes out the back and still is victorious. Not a single death on Rogue Warriors in that final fight. And they say, screw the middle inhibitor. Let's just win the game as the minion wave floods into the bottom lane. 5 members down from TOP. Cannot even defend. 30 minutes on the clock and Rogue Warriors completely demolish TOP.
Rogue Warriors basically getting a win while styling on their opponents. This is not a team composition that they usually run. We usually think about them as the Kog'Maw, as a hyper carry team composition, but they're trying to tell other playoff teams, hey, we got more up our sleeves.
We've got more up our sleeves, but also it may be also them hiding a lot of what they want to do, you know, moving into playoffs. It's also like, yes, they can use it as an experimentation period, but the way it looked like, because it was so different from the usual Rogue Warriors style, was just like, hey, we cannot even try our hardest and still pick up these games against teams like TOP, maybe even soon in gaming as well.
Yeah, so this is definitely a shielding set for them. They're hiding their cards on what they could possibly do. However, we do have to mention that Kai'Sa has been pretty strong on 8.5. A lot of the players we've heard have sung high praise for her. Her only weakness really is the laning phase, but if she gets ahead, we can see in this matchup how you can utilize her. Really punishes the side lanes incredibly hard.
That being said, Doinby also with a blinder of a game on the Vladimir, actually choosing to go for a damage pick this time around and was very good on it. He had the great game sense during those team fights, was buying the time when he needed to. So many times I was like, no way is Doinby going to get out of this one alive, and then he knows just at the right moment when RW is going to turn up and is able to turn the fight.
So a very scary thing about Rogue Warriors is that even when they're styling, they're still able to come up with a team composition that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, this is a team comp where Marin is never going to be able to split push. They have too many methods that they can collapse on the split pusher, and basically it left TOP with no win conditions. The only thing that TOP could do was play catch themselves. And when you're already behind in the early game, that doesn't work so well.
No, it did not. No, it did not at all. And TOP, we were looking at different styles that they could maybe play in this one. Would you go for like a late game scaling on the top lane for Marin? Will you play around the bottom side? We didn't really get to see a whole lot of that because Rogue Warriors just crushed the early game, crushed the mid game. And then you've got Kai'Sa who's just snowballing out of control because Kai'Sa will do that. And once she has the advantage, able to rotate that pressure around, and it really just started to crumble.
Yeah, it was a really fun matchup from both sides. There was a lot of dynamic coming out from both, a lot of catch potential, a lot of fighting power from both sides. But however, the early game really decided once they got the mid priority, there was not much TOP could do with how fast the rotations were coming from Rogue Warriors.
Sure. Big separation between Rogue Warriors and the rest of the league. We'll see if they can bounce back in Game 2. TOP, that is, as we send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at Game 1.
Oh my god, it happened! We got ourselves a Kai'Sa! Woo! I am so excited. I have been telling everyone that I know that Kai'Sa is absolutely going to be played. If not 8-5, then absolutely 8-6. And it happened. Ooh!
Just before we got into that
exactly,
one,
I know.
You mentioned Kai'Sa. We both said it jokingly.
Not
Not fully expecting it, but if any team was going to do it, we did say it would be Rogue Warriors. So we shouldn't be too surprised it happened, but I am still surprised it happened.
And then Rogue SMLZ. Oh, the man. Oh, my God. Okay, so let's talk about how this happened, because it was more than just the Kai'Sa that actually won the game.
Yes.
So let's get into the pick and ban. You can see it was actually 4th for the likes of Rogue Warriors. Not a huge priority for them, but a good plot twist.
We are going to start with the other side as well before we go into a Kai'Sa highlight. Let's talk about TFB's
We can just keep talking about
it. For a little bit. Now, they went for I would say, a much more stock standard type of team composition. Swain's gone towards the mid lane. You'll start to see a lot more of that now as well. Swain's just getting pretty much permanently banned everywhere, but the preference does seem to be towards the middle lane. It's very easy to control waves and has some crowd control. And they picked themselves a very nice pick composition. When you have a Thresh and a Varus in the bottom lane, a Swain in the middle lane for the E as well. Then you've got yourself an Olaf that can throw axes that actually sets up all of the above, even if he's not rawly engaging for them. And there's a lot of damage. I actually like that composition a lot. They used it to great effect in the first gank they put into the bottom lane when they killed the Tahm Kench. I thought that was very smart from them. They played okay. It's just that the other side, when you look at the other draft from Rogue Warriors, I had my concerns for this. I raised my concerns a lot during the draft phase. They have no crowd control. Their team fighting is very awkward. It's low range, but it is high damage.
Oh, yeah.
There is so much damage coming out of that composition. The most important member is actually the Jarvan to lock them down. Very good into Olaf, very good into people that want to run at Kai'Sa, who's a low-range champion, and Tahm Kench, of course, to keep her alive. But for the most part, it is all about the Kai'Sa for you.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. For me, at the very least.
Let's talk about Kai'Sa,
for Rogue Warriors, I mean, that they were able to set up the composition, because Kai'Sa is not an easy champion to play. Like you said, 500 range. The Q on patch 8.5 is only 575 range. We saw during the laning phase, whenever he would step up, he would get punished by the Thresh and the Varus. So they were able to keep themselves together. I could just keep talking about this champion forever, but it wasn't the Kai'Sa that was the star of the show. And that makes me a little bit sad, but also excited, because we got to see what happens when Kai'Sa is utilized in more of a utility sense than just a hard carry sense.
Or more when Doinby is able to hard carry a team fight in the enemy red buff as well. And that's the place that you'd have to be looking towards. Is the first big things that start to happen is that, yes, the Kai'Sa's doing damage here and there. Doinby, this may not be the best fight for Rogue Warriors. In fact, this is one of those few moments where you get a little bit excited for TOP here, having the equalizer laid down in the perfect position. But note, during all of this time, the disengage from Kai'Sa, that's what you're looking at. The strength of, the knowledge of the champion, we should say, from SMLZ as well, to be able to reposition himself that nicely.
And yeah, right there, the evolved Acathian Rain to turn that Olaf around and run back. Of course, that was a theme that we saw happen multiple times. Doinby running in with the Hemo Plague, or in some cases getting caught with the Hemo Plague, and just turning these fights around.
The ability to engage out of a composition that doesn't have engage and is simply damage is where Rogue Warriors have done this very well. And unfortunately, yes, it is by getting Doinby caught out of position. Perhaps a better team would have been able to kill him for that. They would have had a better collapse on him. It's very hard to say, but the way that they played the re-engage, or that the recompensation for a very poor start to a fight, was very good from Rogue Warriors, and they had so much damage to actually follow that.
And this is where we look at the Kai'Sa, the risk-reward, being able to prey on splitting people apart when they're confused. We couldn't kill the Doinby. What do we do now? Oh no, now there's a Kai'Sa here.
I will say, that it wasn't just Kaiser.
It was.
Yes, there was a moment where he styles on everyone, but before we even look at that, remember how important Kahlua is.
Yes.
In all of this, in the composition to keep him alive. And it's not just the Kaiser, it's the Cogmore, it's SMLZ and Kahlua.
Yeah.
Tahm Kench is the most important support for them because SMLZ goes only one direction, that's always forwards, and now tactical repositions are available from Kahlua.
Now that being said, let's take a look at this play. Tags the Void Assault and Killer Instinct into 4 people. I think so, SMLZ. Chases it down for another one. Oh no, there are more people here. I've been hit by crowd control. Keep going forward. The only answer, obviously, as SMLZ just continues to count it out and style on his ability. The execution passive is so strong, and that he just is able to survive through all of this speaks to the power of the champion. That said, Doinby takes our man of the match on Vladimir, 8-2-9.
Yes, the actual carry of the team is still the Vladimir in this game. Played it mostly well, of course. I wouldn't say it was the optimal game from him personally, but he made something out of the composition like we mentioned. He found the ability to engage with the composition that had pretty much none of it besides the Jarvan, and everyone just flashes out of that anyway. He did damage, he started off team fights, he finished off team fights as well. I think to the one at Baron buff, the river there, where he was almost able to pick up, I'd say close to the pentakill as well.
If not a penta,
yeah, he was getting very close to it. He played super well.
And again, it just speaks to this team. They are chasing down first in the league. They are inches away from claiming it themselves, and they've shown, hey, we aren't sleeping on TOP.
No, and they've shown that they're not going to diversify in play style. They're going to diversify in draft, however, and experiment a little bit more as we get closer to that playoff stage.
They certainly are. We got a chance to see that happen in Game 1, but before we get into Game 2, let's go ahead and take a quick break while the players get reset and warm their fingers back up for another game of Kaiser, maybe. Let's find out in just a few minutes.